that an all-out attack on the city, which is the entry point for 80% of the country's food imports and aid relief, could trigger famine. Well, Stacey Philbrick Yadav is chair of the Department of Political Science at Hobart and William Smith Colleges and serves on the board of the American Institute of Yemeni Studies. And she joins us now. Stacey, thank you very much for your time. We've been hearing about this crisis at the port of Hodeidah. What is the effect if food can't come into that area? Are there other ways for Yemenis to get food in?
I think the effect is going to be catastrophic, and I was happy last summer when diplomatic and international organizational pressure was able to delay this offensive. But even in the months since then, coalition forces have been tightening around the port and throughout the province of Hodeidah, and we've already seen a really rapid deterioration in humanitarian conditions over the past several months. So already before the attack on Hodeidah, 8.4 million people were at risk of immediate starvation in Yemen. In terms of how food will get into the country, food gets into Yemen. I think one of the perversities of the war is that even with the experience of partial blockade at various points and largely closed borders, food gets in because as it circulates, it gets taxed by militias on the ground. So not government taxes, but informal taxes by militias, which drives the prices well beyond what ordinary Yemenis can afford, which is why Yemenis are today starving in their homes. And the attack on the port of Hodeidah is going to dramatically escalate their suffering.
The humanitarian situation has really focused minds, and there have been recent efforts to try and forge some sort of ceasefire, some sort of peace. There was a suggestion that there's pressure on Saudi Arabia, but given what we're seeing in Hodeidah, have these peace talks really failed?
Well, I think that there's been at best a diplomatic impasse for years now as the war has continued. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is that the diplomatic framework approaches the war as a two-party war and tries to secure a two-party peace, but this isn't a two-party war. And in fact, even within the coalition, there are divergent interests on the ground and divergent local alliances. So the diplomatic framework that is really focused on the Houthis versus the government of Yemen isn't really productive. And I hope that in any future peace process, which we hear is coming, I hope that that will include the voices of non-combatants and the voices of women who've been working very hard behind the scenes, particularly through sort of track 2 or back channel negotiations in Oman and elsewhere. I'd really like to see the special envoy more thoroughly integrate independents and non-combatants in that process. That said, I don't find it that unusual that there is a sharp escalation in violence just after the intention to help hold peace talks is announced. I think that that's reasonably common that in circumstances like this, that parties want to change backs on the ground and push for maximum advantage before any kind of negotiated settlement.
Stacey.